Hello once again, everybody. On Sunday, November 29th, 2015, in this part of the world, the tail end of the Thanksgiving holiday. Hope you had a great couple of days to reflect, relax. And if you are in part of the world that does not officially celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you had a good weekend. It's always an interesting time of the year as we approach year end to look back, to look ahead. Great time to kind of officially turn the calendar page mentally in terms of looking back at what we did well, what we haven't done well as traders, as human beings, looking forward to the opportunity to continue to grow. And I'm going to start today with sort of the reflection theme. Many of you may not know that we have had some fairly significant milestones in the trading industry in passages very, very recently that certainly has me giving pause and reflection. Many of you also probably have heard of some of these, but a few months ago, we did mention it on this site, we lost Mark Douglas back in September. Mark, of course, tremendous influence in this industry. In terms of trading psychology, certainly was influential in my trading career, the work that he had done. And just learned, many of us this past week, that Richard Russell, the founder of Dow theory, had passed. Also a wonderful contributor to this industry in so many ways, the Dow letters, and just lost another great giant of the industry. I'm looking at a list that I started jotting down here. Certainly still with us, but formally announcing his retirement, Jim Dalton, this past week. Jim has done such great work with the market profile. Another name that I jotted down, who you may or may not know, Tony Hansen. If you don't know Tony, she has been very influential, very giving on the educational side of this industry for a long time. Tony was stricken earlier this year with a significant injury and illness that dealt with the leaking of spinal fluid. And an update was provided for many of us this past week. In terms of her continuing to climb back from that, just a tremendous challenge, a lot of ups and downs. So that process continues. Some of you may know that they created a charitable fund to try to defray some of the expenses for Tony. We provided a modest contribution from the Jellyfish Charitable Fund, as did hundreds of others. So we certainly continue to wish Tony the best. And you know, I think of other names in this industry. Linda Ratchke comes to mind. Linda is continuing to wind down the formal education part of her trading career as she looks forward to the future and earns some very well-deserved time to spend with her family and her. I don't want to call it retirement years. I can't ever see that happening, but certainly a transition of sorts. And I look at all of these names and certainly reminds me about the circle of life. It reminds me of those that have shared their experiences in one way or another, or shared their unique view of the market in one way or another that has left a mark in this industry. And I will never assert or claim to place myself aside the names of any of these people in what we do here. My only point in terms of relating what we're doing today, what we're talking about today, to them is that it's just a reminder that those of us that have learned you know, what to do, what not to do, or had unique views, the more that we can share that. A decision that I made several years ago after bowing out of the educational side for a long time. You know, I think the more we can do that, the better. But you know, these are people that have had significant influence in this industry, and certainly I look at them and I thank them for what they have done, and I think they are excellent role models for all of us in terms of how to live our lives and how to give back and how to link life and trading as we continue to evolve and go forward. And I thought I would take that just one step further just for a moment here and look and read back the final few paragraphs of the Chronicles book. And we touched on some of this at different times. So I appreciate your indulgence if you have read this or if you've heard some of these before. But I thought it would be appropriate as we wrap up this year, we look at what these folks have done and try to figure out where we go as traders and as humans for the next year. We'll talk more about that in a second here. But just give me about a couple of minutes here. This is page 245, part 8, final thoughts. From Chronicles of a Million Dollar Trader. It says, more than 10 years have passed since what I often refer to as my personal abyss. And almost 5 years have passed since I embarked on my inner self-actualization journey. It's often said that timing is everything in the markets as well as in life, and such certainly appears to be the case for consolidating and formalizing my thoughts in these pages. As I approach the age of 52, this was about 2.5 years ago, my perspectives on life and trading have come into even clearer focus given the events of recent years, without which would have likely resulted in a compilation that, although perhaps helpful, would have been incomplete. I consider myself extremely fortunate to have been given thus far 5 decades in which to grow, make mistakes, and adjust for course corrections, especially in a world where lives too often seem to be cut short before so many can rise to their fullest potential. Why some are given the blessing of time to cultivate and fully develop, while others aren't, will forever remain a mystery. As I reviewed my experiences in great detail in preparation for this book, one theme that seemed constant throughout my life and career was imperfection, bold, in the form of less than perfect markets, trade sequences, traders, brokers, regulators, and humans amid the backdrop of an imperfect world. Yet perhaps it's our very humanity and imperfections that combine to form our greatest strengths and lead to our greatest discoveries. For most accomplishments or advances in the history of this world seem to have their footings held strong by the once wet concrete of extreme or multiple failures that over time hardened to provide a foundation that could withstand the future winds of time. Another theme is flexibility in terms of both trading style and business plan that the financial markets provide, just as there is no single one right way to trade. As long as gains exceed losses and costs, there are also multiple ways in which to incorporate a trading plan into one's life. And I will skip ahead to the final couple of paragraphs here. As I first mentioned when we began this journey together, this is a true story that I hope showed that despite the tremendous imperfections of humanity, and this trader specifically, anything is possible when years of extreme dedication and motivation collide with that special window of opportunity where personal rhythm and external circumstances fully align. Although I'll let time provide the ultimate verdict, I'm hopeful that these words would have stirred your soul to diligently strive to maximize your gifts and talents and jump through that window of opportunity with full force when it appears, regardless of age, endeavor, or field, while keeping your successes in perspective and your friends and family far, far closer than your bank account. Is this a book about trading or life? I will let you decide. I recount that as we approach the end of this year, and from my perspective, trading and life is always about the blank slate that we are all starting at this very moment with a blank slate. We have a blank piece of canvas as we approach December, as we approach 2016, as we approach tomorrow. It's all unwritten. It's all unwritten. It doesn't matter what we have painted, what we have drawn in the past, last year, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, our childhood, 2 minutes ago. It doesn't matter. We are all given this gift of an unwritten future and an unwritten canvas, and we have the ability to turn on a dime and live differently going forward, or learn from our past experiences, good, bad, and different. And we've talked a lot recently about the book, The Compound Effect, that talks about how slight course corrections can just build and snowball into a chain of events and results that by the time you look not so far down the road are mind shattering just by starting that one course correction today. And I just view this time of the year as a wonderful opportunity to do that, no matter what age we are, no matter how long we've been at this business. It's often been said, and I know I talk about this in the book, that there's always that disclaimer in this industry that past performance is not indicative of future results. As I said in the book, you can somewhat turn that on its side. The whole idea behind that phrase, of course, is any success at any given point in time is certainly not guaranteed for the future because of a number of factors. But if you turn on its side, it also means that if we have had subpar results, forget about trading, but if we've had subpar results in the course of life, then we are able to turn that on a dime, and past performance is again not indicative of future performance. In terms of doing far better, exceeding what we have done in the past, and that's the way that I try to look at life. And I'm not always successful with it, but I think if you maintain that mindset that what's happened in the past has no bearing aside from the experiences that we gain and the lessons that we learn, and hopefully can use that information constructively. The fact that whatever happened does not affect the future of our careers and our lives. And it's often said by many people far greater than me that the next trade sequence is has no bearing on the past trade sequence. It's such a wonderful time and a wonderful outlook for us to have. We are all, if you're listening to this, we're all living and breathing right now. We all have the opportunity to make changes in our trading and make changes in our lives. Again, we talked about the compound effect, the wow goals, creating goals that someone would listen to, and they would, some may say you're crazy, you're nuts. But by and large, people would say, wow, that's what I want to shoot for. That's what I encourage everybody to shoot for. And again, we're not talking about financial goals necessarily. It can be a financial goal, but it can be any goal. Surround yourself with a network of supporters and surround yourself with the experiences that some of these greats that we talked about tonight, that they have provided us with. Learn from their opportunities, the role, the model that they provide us. And I can't help. Here I am in New England on Thanksgiving, where the country was founded. The Pilgrims that came over. Most of you know the story. But I can't help it living in this part of the country and reliving a lot of that in terms of a lot of the activities that happen in this part of the world during this time of the year, in terms of people escaping persecution in Europe and coming over here and starting fresh and pursuing freedom and all that good stuff. The work that they did to provide us a foundation in which to prosper. The same thing that we look at people like Mark and Richard and Jim and Tony and Linda and the work that they have done, so that we don't have to recreate all of that work. We've talked a lot here over the years about self-sufficiency, which I continue to believe is critical in terms of learning this business in such a way where you don't need to continually rely on others. You get it and you can move forward. But that's not to say that the foundation, we don't need to keep recreating the wheel. I've often said that we've never talked about anything ever here on the blog and the Jelly program, whatever. We don't talk about anything that hasn't already been created. Okay, there's no reason to reinvent wheels. I don't want to be selling wheels, and we don't need to be building new wheels because the wheel's already there. As long as markets are around, and as long as human emotion is here, markets are never going to change. Okay, you have the emotions of fear and greed at play. I don't care if they're computers pushing buttons or computers making the transactions or algos running off and on or whatever. There's human psychology behind that. So there's always going to be the human factors of fear, greed, and everything that goes along with that drives market, that drives price. Okay, so that's always going to be there, and it's a matter of how we look at that and how we interpret that. and what I love what some of these folks have done is they've created new ways to look at it. Maybe looking at that wheel from a couple different angles to see how it rotates, and to get a clearer view for when it stops and when it starts turning again. But the wheel's always going to be there, and so to the extent that the wheel is there and the ways of looking at the wheel are there, leveraging off of that, simplifying the business, staying focused certainly in that vein. And using all of that to our advantage, very much like the Pilgrims. And I know I apologize if that's a real corny analogy, but I can't help it because I always look at trading and life interchangeably. One drives the other. If you're good at trading, you'll be good at life. If you get better at life, you'll get better at trading, and vice versa. And I grew up in New England. I was gone for 25 years, living in the Northwest, the Dallas area, the Midwest before we came back here. But I can't help it. I can't help but look back at this time of the year as we look ahead to leverage off of the work that has been done for us and the foundations that have been laid. We all have a blank slate, again, heading into December, heading into next year. It's such a wonderful opportunity that we have. I guess the closing thought would be, again, forget about what happened yesterday. Forget about what happened last week, what happened last month, what happened this past year. Okay. We all have that opportunity to start making those course corrections right now, heading into December, heading into 2016, and making the rest of our opportunity here, as valuable as we can for ourselves, our families, and those that will come after us. Again, from my perspective, certainly tremendous thanks to Mark and Richard and Jim and Tony and all of those who have done so much for us, whose work we can leverage off of. The question is now, what do we do as individuals and what do we do as traders going forward? Okay, we've got a blank slate. The brush is in your hand. The pen is in your hand. The future is unwritten. Okay, I'd love to see the story that you're going to write. Create those wow goals. The sky's the limit. I want to see that canvas filled in. I'm going to be certainly continuing to draw my own canvas, turning the page, and hope you do the same going into next year. So if you're interested, let me know what you're going to do with that blank page. If you find it helpful to document it, share it with others, great. If not, that's wonderful too. But you've got the brush in your hand. What do you do with it? Hope that helps you. Take care. Bye.